Hello, hello. It's Z. What's brewing today?
Supreme Court, affirmative asses.
New Barbie, who dis?
And hey, dude. Hey, girl. So get your cups ready for Minority Report.
Hey, welcome to Minority Report. It's Auntie Carell.
It's Auntie Dawon.
And it's Auntie Jarrell. Hey, y'all.
Hey, booze. And we won't get into it immediately, but we have a special guest because the Supreme Court's been acting crazy this week. So we was like, we need our own Auntie legal correspondent on Minority Report.
Auntie Saint Germain.
Hey, Saint Germain is
back on the show. Back on the show.
Welcome back.
What's up, Z? How you doing, boo?
Good. I know. Anytime the Supreme Court act up, my phone be blowing up, and I know that yours is coming next. Talk to our people.
Let's get him back on here to break this shit on down.
Well, the last thing, the last thing we're going to do is spread misinformation. Now, we may spread some misopinions, but we will not spread no misinformation. Not on this one.
I wouldn't call it a misopinion because I said what I said last week, okay? Ain't nothing miss about it.
I mean, listen, we have all experienced our own element of growth over the past 5 years. So
you're right.
That's true.
You know.
That's true.
Mine's been a little, but it's been something.
We only spread opinions and legs.
True, at this point, I can't believe it.
One margarita.
I was about to say, when did we start talking about margaritas?
That margarita song, I can't.
It's a bop, but
we're making that video in Jamaica with the family next week.
Are you really?
Yes, I'm gonna make sure we're gonna be doing that video.
Hey, you've never been to Jamaica? Like, what part of the island are you going?
Is
it the Grill or is it Montego Bay?
Montego Bay.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I went once in college. I turned 21 down there actually, but it didn't matter because I think they could drink at 19 there. But ever since then, I'm like, okay, they be hating the gays too heavy there. So I'm like, I don't know if I feel safe. But,
that's why I'm gonna stay my black ass on the resort.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Period.
Period. It's free, girl. It's all inclusive anyway. So why I gotta go anywhere?
You don't
why
go anywhere.
I'm good. We went to the private boat, and so all 46 of us will be on that boat. And it's just be us. So I'll do that. Other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm chilling,
girl.
Look, you ain't nobody gonna mess with you when you're on the property. Yeah. But as soon as you go off the property, it's a whole different situation.
Get the bust out the Timbs and them. What do straight people wear?
The shorts below the knees.
Right, exactly. The carpenter jeans. I don't
know. Those sunglasses that look like the Matrix that go like this and wrap all the way around. Them glasses.
Them Oakleys.
Right. Oh, that's what they're called. See, block the name from my complete existence.
I was like, I don't know what they wear. Shit.
That should be we need to have a whole segment about straight fashion, honey. Because
so I just learned that everybody's wearing Hey Dudes. There's this shoe called Hey Dudes.
I don't know.
I was at this restaurant. I was at the restaurant at the lake, Trump Country up north in northern Minnesota. And somebody said something. I looked down. I was the only one that did not have these Hey Dude shoes on.
Are they like the new boat shoes or something like that?
They're the new boat shoes. They're the new boat shoes.
Are they the ones with they almost slip on and they oh god.
They have a fake kind of tie thing that's really not fully tied.
Yeah. Okay, that's what they call it. Hey Dudes. Yeah, I've seen a lot of straight white dudes.
You look them all up. Yeah, Hey Dudes.
Absolutely.
Everybody was wearing it.
Absolutely. No.
These orthopedic Tom wannabe. They should call these Tom Jones. That's what they should call these.
You know the people. You know who wearing those? The people who don't wash their legs, and so they letting their feet air out as much as possible.
Honey. Oh, Lord have mercy.
That's the truth.
Well, you know who I was with? I was with Tommy. I was up there with Tommy and his peeps up there.
Let me tell you. So I know y'all clowns. I can't even. I love my big bro. I ain't seen him in forever.
You need to come back. Come visit.
I'll be back in August.
So it sounds like you're a holiday. So what do y'all do? Even though I don't even want say it's the 4th of July because that shit is some
it's
BS shit.
It's
but but I'm reclaiming the time because I had the day off and got to see my auntie and shit. So I love that part of it. But
I call it Free Money Day. You know, it's just a day for free money.
There we go.
And you do what you want on that day that you get paid without having to work.
Hey, I hear you. So you was up at the lake, Z?
Yeah, was at a friend's lake up north, so it was all about lake and boat life. And
how was the weather?
It wasn't bad at all. It was really nice. It rained a little bit, but I was there since Friday, so it was like 5 days.
Oh,
so
nice.
You wake up in the morning, you go out on the little dock, and you throw out the little fishing line. It's just very, very tranquil. And the phone service wasn't amazing, so we were saying earlier it was a bit getting cut off from society and just being present, which is always nice.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I did white people stuff this weekend too, so I'm with you. I did the same.
What were you doing,
girl? Let me tell you. Had me in the woods hiking. I hiked 3 miles to the beach, and we camped on the beach for a night.
Ooh.
Smoked a bunch of weed and had a bunch of shrooms and had me some tequila lemonade and just sat out there and just
with your hey dudes.
Girl, nah.
She had him with her hey girls.
Not with them things. Girl, okay, hey girl.
Ooh, see, that's the gay version.
That's
hey
the
girl.
gay version. Hey girl.
You gotta trademark that before the show comes out.
That's right.
Look, absolutely. But no, that's all I did. And then I just studied. I'm trying to see no fireworks. First of all, if you're from the hood, from the ghetto, you are often around moments where fireworks remind you of gunshots. So for me, fireworks are just, the sound just takes me back to a place where I ain't fucking with it. I ain't fucking with it. I live around a bunch of white people, so like I'm in a safe area now, but you can't take the nigga out the hood. I'm still just like ready to run, girl. And I'm around a bunch of white people who always go, ooh. And I kid you not. I be ready to. I'm like, what is going on? And they like, oh my God, ain't that so cute? Don't be oohing and gasping like that. That's a sign of danger for us, girl.
Like something happened.
Jerome be having his Apple Watch on, and that should be spiking.
Heart rate. Just be like, are you running for your life? Yes. Of course, this run for my life.
Oh God. How was your weekend, Dawon?
It was pretty chill. Went out to Long Island for the weekend, spent some time with some friends out there, and got on a boat and did some cooking out. I had like a ton of edibles. It was just super chill. And I know we were supposed to get together on the 4th, and that ended up falling through because, obstacles.
Let me tell you, I replayed Carell's story like 5 times trying to go through the sea of people. I was like, first of all, she's been there for a year. How's she know these many people? But besides that, I'm also looking in the background for Dawon. And I was like, Dawon?
Obstacles.
I already knew.
And the funny thing is, like, originally we were going to do something for the 4th, and then we're like, never mind. That's just a lot of work. But then Dawon was like, okay, we're coming. So we're like, all right, let's throw something together. So we're like, okay, who's in town still? Who's da-da-da-da? So it was just kind of like a hodgepodge of people. Not a hodgepodge. Like, there's people that we hang out with, but there's others that, like, were out of town. Mm-hmm. We have friends from Dallas that, like, grew up in New Jersey, so they were in town, so they were part of it. Then my aunt texted me out the blue. She's like, oh, we in Philly. We're coming over. I was like, all right, come on over. So it turned out to be like this hodgepodge of folks. But it literally started because of Dawon and Adam. And they weren't even there.
Not the rich. Nah, it's my party and I didn't show. Like,
it happens.
To be fair,
I will say this. You know how Corey is. He said, "Okay, this number 2."
And
number 2.
This is number 2. This is number 2 that we had made plans and then we ended up canceling. And I was heated. I was heated because it didn't. To me, it didn't make sense why we weren't going, because we had a whole day off.
I understood it because, like, well, I was looking, even when you said it, I was like, that's a lot to squeeze into the weekend, and plus, then you got to leave out that next morning. I was like, okay.
So we were in Long Island since Thursday evening. In Long Island since Thursday evening. We were supposed to be coming back on Sunday, and then we would have Monday. I would work, regular day. Pack all of our stuff because I'm, as you noticed, a little bit of a different background decor. So I'm in Indiana right now, and we left out this morning at 8 a.m. So like if we got home on Sunday, we had all Monday to do whatever, get packed and ready, pick up a rental car, drive out to Philly. It's a 2-hour drive, easy in the morning, come back like mid to late evening, get home, go to sleep, get up, shower, grab the bags that are already packed and go out the door. In my mind. Oh, that's too much. And I'm starting a new job, and it's just a lot of travel. And okay, I hate to do this, boo, but we're not coming. And I tried.
I was like, I get it.
And I tried like a couple of days before, I finally texted and said we're not going to make it, which was basically, what was that, Sunday? I think that was Sunday or Monday. Yeah. I don't remember. I used that time to do as much of my negotiating as I possibly could, and we didn't.
It's all good. But it was just so funny that I was like, okay, it turned out to be a big crowd, a decent crowd. I was like, and all this was from Dawon and Adam. We wasn't even gonna do it.
And I was this close to going by myself. I was this close. I was like,
see, that would have been me.
That would have been me too.
Let me tell you, you grown. I'll be home. I got keys. You got keys.
That part. That would have been me too.
Let me tell you, Dawon, that plan sounded good to me. I was like, I'm with you. Who sounded like, cool, that's easy enough.
Yep. I figured that, traffic was going to be super easy because first of all, it's a holiday. Ain't nobody doing a lot of highway traveling on the highway itself, So it's like, it's going to be easy, but, obstacles.
Obstacles.
That was the only thing Corey said. Oh, they ain't coming? He said, there's number 2, right? I was like, you deal with it. I'm okay. So I was like, Dawon Adams gonna have to do with Corey, not me. Oh man!
Well, I was considerate because I asked. I did ask as I gave well in advance notice. I also asked how much, because I know you guys went to Rehoboth Beach, so definitely let's find out how that went. But I knew that you guys were going to the beach. I didn't know how many days you're going to be there, so I was like, oh, well, a lot of it depends. To me, a lot of it depends on how much prepreparation was going into it, because
I had literally just got that from Costco, and I was like, well, damn. Well, I guess we're gonna be eating extra good.
And honestly, if I would have known that, then I would have just taken my happy black ass and just got in the car and just came over there.
It worked out the way it needed.
I know, but I wanted to go.
I hear you, boo. I hear you.
Did you hear that?
Got one more chance in Corey's eyes.
Did you? I did a bad excommunicated. Oh, what is this?
I was like, oh, Lord Jesus. But yeah, that was our first time actually going to, so it was Corey's birthday over the weekend. And so he had to work on his actual birthday. But then, he had Monday and Tuesday off. So Monday we went down to Rehoboth. Super cute town, by the way. Super cute. Mm-hmm. White. It reminds me of Palm Springs, actually. We went to one of the bars, and I was like, ooh, this is a sprinkling of pepper and a sea of salt if I ever seen. So it was the same energy. It gave literally the same energy. But a super cute beach town, super gay beach town in Delaware. So I was like, okay, I see what people are talking about Rehoboth. The weather held out. We thought it was going to rain all day. It didn't rain until we started driving back to Philly, and that took forever, and that was crazy because it was torrential downpour trying to drive through that. But it was super cute. And then on the 4th, we just had people over, ate, drank, be merry, and then it was cool to see my aunt and my cousins and my uncle come, and just that interactions between the gay world and the straight world and your family world all intertwined. And they was doing shots together. It was I was like, okay, now
all worked out.
I could just imagine the kind of conversations, the breadth of conversations that were had in the room. Yeah. I've had family and friends, and acquaintances,
it's just weird
in the same environment, and it's just the kind of conversations that just naturally come up in our engagement is very different than the conversations that come up in, at least 1,000%. In my experience, they come up in familiar and family conversations. So very
1000%.
interesting
And
dynamic.
there's always just like the dynamics, even in friend groups, the dynamics in family and things like that, and just to kind of see and weave in and out. And then even I say hey to Brian Balthazar. Brian Balthazar and his husband stopped by as well.
Oh
So that was
yeah,
cute. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun, and it was so fucking hot. It's so fucking hot right now in the East Coast. Like it was 92 degrees and 80% humidity. I was like, I was like, I can't do this.
We don't got none of that humidity over here. We just nice and
toasty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Zay, I got a question for you real quick, because we just talked about like Rehoboth and like Palm Springs. Is there, and maybe this is this is definitely an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about your book, because I know you're here to talk about other stuff, but is there a place that older Black gays go to?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So like we have
in
like
the country.
Yeah, I mean, you like the places that older gays, white gays go to: Palm Springs, Fort Lauderdale, Rehoboth Beach, and P-Town, right? Yeah. Like those are the usual suspects. Fire Island, if you want to count that in there. But like, there's a whole swath of us that and older that are vibrant and still like want that sense of community and don't want to be the speck of pepper and a sea of salt. Like
true.
Yeah. So have you come across any?
Well, not in particular. So that's good because it gives me a reason to do a little bit more research on it. But I know a lot do New Orleans, of course.
Yeah.
But then like doesn't DC have a big Black Pride over 4th of July?
Or is it I think Black Pride was
I think Black Pride
2
might
weeks
be on
ago
the 4th
or
everywhere,
it was like
it's in LA.
I think it would be really interesting
because weeks ago or a month ago or something like that.
Yeah, there are like events, right? But I'm talking about places that are known for like, we going to Saugatuck. Well, we all know that Saugatuck is very white, very gay, right? We're going to Palm Springs, very like no matter. It doesn't mean I'm going there for the white party in Palm Springs. No, I'm just going to Palm Springs because it's a weekend. I'm just It would be interesting to see like what places, if they don't exist, what places are emerging as those natural congregational spots that's independent of a festival or an event. That's just the place where where we go. Because I would like to weave that in my travel schedule next year.
I know that's right. And DC Black Pride is over Memorial Weekend.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know LA is over 4th of July weekend because it just happened.
It just happened.
And then Atlanta's is over Memorial or Labor Day weekend. So that's another one that I know, at least living in Atlanta, a lot of Black gays coming for that, and it's all ages for that. That city, that city's already Black and queer, but that city,
it'd be extra crispy, girl. Like, yes.
No, that's a good call though, Dawon.
Like
make that happen.
Is there like a beach somewhere like in Georgia, in Louisiana, in North Carolina? Is there a beach that has been taken over by or really embraced by the queer Black community? Like that would be amazing to find out, and B, like I would love to see that.
The community, if let us know. Like drop a DM and we'll promote the shit out of that.
Yeah, that's a good.
I mean, sadly, part of this deals with the whole aspects of generational wealth and why these communities have been able to build the way that they've been able to build. See, I know I was going to take you all there already.
I'm ready. We got to get there.
Because I was in Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's dissent. She gave them a whole dissertation in regards to our history, just in case they didn't know. Just in case they didn't know. And they didn't know because they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care at all. They don't care. But she said, I'm about to read all y'all hoes for filth in a judicial way, the supreme judicial way. Okay, well, here we go, community.
On the court. Thank God we got a Black woman on the court.
Thank God. Push it off long enough. So let's backtrack. So we were kind of like in our little Glee moment. It was just a nice recording last week. We record and we wake up the next fucking morning and all hell starts to break loose. And we're like, oh my God. So the first one that broke loose, and obviously we're talking about the Supreme Court rulings that have occurred over the last week or 2 weeks at this point when the episode comes out, was around affirmative action. And we'll let Z be the professional of breaking this shit down. But yeah, we'll let you even just, and I'm sure people know what's happened by now, but if not, give them the lowdown of what happened there, Z.
Well, I mean, what the Supreme Court in essence really said is that race can't be a factor in regards to the admissions process in and of itself. And so an individual's criteria, background, upbringing can be referenced in an essay. And then, then that can be taken into account. But just for the simple fact that somebody is Black can't be held, can't be a plus factor in the admissions process. And these were two different cases. There was UNC and Harvard. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson recused herself from the Harvard case because I believe she was on the Board of Regents for Harvard during that time. Hey, some of the other justices should take heed in regards to when they should be recusing. So that's just my little soapbox side there. But she did write an amazing dissent in regard to the UNC case that we really recommend people read. I mean, she's taken up for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Justice Ginsburg, who used to write just like the most spectacular dissents in regards to it, and some of them really came to fruition later on when the composition of the court changed. But the challenge here is that they were saying that all Black folks don't have the same lived experience. I'm just kind of paraphrasing it in a framing that's a little more neutral, I guess. That all Black people don't have the same experience. And so to give all Black people a plus factor when not all Black people have struggled, this is their argument. They're caring about,
the top 1% of Black people.
Right? Well, and here's the thing. I mean, most of the Black and brown folks that are in these elite institutions are people of privilege. They're already legacy. They're already there. You know what I mean? When you look at the percentage of Black and brown folks that come from, first generation or at or below or just above the poverty line, it only ends up being 2 to 3%. I mean, it's not a large percentage of people. And so, the position, the argument was that, that the Asian kids are being, duped out of their positions at Harvard when there were no Asian folks that came forward in regards to trying to say that they were part of it. And this is part of unfortunately, I mean, I really hate saying this about the court, but this is part of the scam that's happened recently as it relates to the court is from law school. I mean, first year in law school, 2007 and 8, everybody takes the exact same classes in law school. And they're like, courts don't take hypotheticals. They take real cases in controversy where there are real people that came forward in regard to real grievances and real issues that happen. And sometimes you may have standing one day and then you don't have standing later on when the case goes forward. And so that's the thing that really irks me in regard to this. And I kind of took a break over the weekend after getting the news in regard to these cases. So I just, it was good that I was off the grid, but I wasn't able to then read up on a lot of the really amazing, analysis from some of our constitutional scholars in regards to how some of these matters really got through to the court.
And they were saying that the organization accused both universities of violating the 14th Amendment, specifically that equal protection clause. And it's just interesting how, depending what justices are on the bench, how they can interpret it the way they want to interpret it, which makes folks that look like you and I feel like, what are they there for? Even though we know there's always a slight biases, it's hard to get around your biases a little bit. But now this seems more than a bias. This seems like it is an agenda.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And it's just like, we already have lost trust in so many branches of the judicial system. And now to see this on such a large scale is so disheartening, because it's like, what the fuck did we do? Because now we know once they come up with these rulings, it's going to take a whole nother 2, 3, 4 generations to try to turn this shit back around the way it should be. And that's why we always preach voting and being registered to vote and things like that, because it's all intertwined. And we always say at that lower level, because they are already grooming the next generation of judges to do the same shit and change some other shit in the future. So, but what are the next steps in your eyes that we can either fight against this or what? Like, I don't even know where to go from here.
Well, just to provide some clarity too, part of this is, and it's interesting in regards to the evolution of language, as well as the evolution as it relates to the integration in regards to Black folks into the broader society, white society, right? Um, in the 80s, being colorblind was a step in the right direction, because everything was colored, everything was black and white, everything was segregated. So to come about to see yourself as being colorblind, not seeing color the way that our ancestors saw color, is really what it kind of came down to, was a step in the right direction. But we've moved past that now. Now we've gone from, hey, being colorblind isn't good enough because you're not recognizing the inherent biases and institutional racism and systems of oppression that are here. So yes, being colorblind was a step better than the segregated life, right? But then we've moved on to diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And to seeing people's whole selves and taking intersectionality into part of the discussion and everything, right? The Supreme Court's late. They're still stuck in the 80s in regard to the mindset of being colorblind, and that was their argument in regard to this, was saying, we just, in order to be able to get rid of racism, we just need to stop talking about racism. You know what I mean? That it's, we elected a Black president, so racism solved. And so if we say that racism is solved, I know it's laughable. So saying that racism is solved according to the law doesn't, and this is one of the things that important things that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said. Just because you say that racism is gone from a legal perspective doesn't mean that that's how it's going to happen on the ground for people. And
how about Juneteenth? How about Juneteenth?
There you go. Prime example, right? I mean, we have too many examples over why do we have to keep reaffirming the Civil Rights Act? Why do we have to keep reaffirming voting rights acts, right? It's because the laws have been on the books, and the people that enforce the laws or are tasked with enforcing the laws haven't had an incentive to do it. And that's one of the reasons why it's been important for us to have a federal legislature and a strong federal government, especially in regards to states like some of the more conservative states in the South and everything, because if they choose not to move forward and protect people, that's when the federal government really should be stepping in as it relates to that. All right, so with that recap, to go back to your question in regards to what's the next steps. Congress always has the ability to be able to update things, right? And so part of the thing that I think to find a little grain of truth in regards to what the justices were saying is, it's been all these years. If y'all want to update the law, we'll give us some updated information, some updated standards. That's something different that we'll look into. But we aren't the country that we were 40, 50 years ago. True, right? And remember, affirmative action was just one little teeny tiny thing that we were doing to try to overcome hundreds of years of oppression and Jim Crow and the Black codes and all that kind of stuff. Just one little teeny tiny thing. And so they're saying it's not the same country that it was then. So Congress always has the ability to be able to come up with something new as it relates to this. I know that there's currently a lawsuit that's being filed against Harvard as it relates to legacies. So you look at legacy folks. So these are folks whose parents, grandparents, somebody in their family has attended, or they're big donors. Roughly 30% of these amazingly prestigious institutions are legacy folks, and those are the folks that are getting in for just
unbiased,
not doing. Oh yeah,
and they're the ones taking the spots of people thinking they didn't get in for their grades, while these other people ain't getting the grades, don't know shit,
don't have any incentive to know shit
because their daddy's name or their grandfather's name is on that building over there.
Right. Period.
So one of the cool things that Ketanji did in her dissent was she broke it down. She's like, there's 7-generation difference between the Black person that's applying for to get in there now and the legacy. And so how can you say that it's equal in regard to that, right? It's none of the faults of the two applicants that come forward. You have a white applicant that's a legacy for 7 generations, and you have a Black applicant that's their first time here. Looking at everything equal, the thing is that they have a 40, I think it was UNC, because that's right. She was talking about the UNC cases she recused from the other one. But, there's a 40-factor panel aspect that they're looking for differences in regards to folks. And they want people to interact with folks that they normally wouldn't interact with in their life, because it's better for them and it's better for everybody. That's the college experience. Can't tell you how many folks here in Minnesota that I've met that are in elected positions or appointed positions, and they said, I never met a Black person until I went to college. And they only live 20, 30 miles outside of the Twin Cities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's a benefit to broader society by having people interact with folks that they normally wouldn't see that's not in their circle of influence because it's better for everyone. And that's part of what the college admission folks look at. They're looking at the holistic kind of aspect of admissions and not just grades, because there's people that have grades. There's all kinds of folks that have grades, amazing grades. So what else? What else do you bring to the table? What else are you going to be contributing?
And I've been reading just random articles just to see, like, because obviously this fallout is going to like affect just more than the immediate of like universities and things like that.
Mhm.
Like, because people will try to interpret it the way they need to. We already seen like in like the DEI space, some high profile folks in corporate America retire or happen to be leaving the company, and how they want to like
a lot of them are Black
gloss
women.
it over.
A lot of them are Black women,
Yeah.
Right?
So it's just like, I'm almost curious, Dawon, that's your space. That is your world. What was your first like thought hearing this and seeing potentially someone like your even probably like peers in the realm being laid off and things like that, and how to fight that internally, saying, no, this is still important for companies to maintain these positions?
I feel like, so I have a couple of thoughts. One, I feel like any company that has taken a stance about rolling back initiatives that support Black and brown and underprivileged and historically unrecognized individuals and disenfranchised individuals, that says a lot about that particular company. So no matter what they say about their values or their code of conduct, you look at a company's actions and that tells you a lot. So to me, there were a bunch of companies that were out there faking until we make it and throwing money so that they wouldn't get blamed. You know, it was a PR thing versus it was them really invested in and understanding the benefits, the real benefits of investing in having a diverse talent pool. I mean, there have been studies for the last 50 to 60 years that reinforce the idea that when you bring diverse perspectives and experiences to the table, this is not just a color thing or a gender thing. It is an experience thing, a diversity of experiences that also happens to prioritize women of color, people of color. When you're able to do that, the company maximizes on everything, maximizes on productivity, maximizes on profitability, maximizes on innovation and ideation and the ability to bring those things to life. Just think about it. I read an article. I'm trying to remember exactly where it came from, but there was an article that did a study on specifically for Black people and Hispanic, Latin heritage individuals on how much time do they spend in corporate code switching.
Oh yeah,
upwards to 20%. I think it was anywhere between 13 to 20% of individuals' time, raw dollars and minutes of the day spent on code switching, meaning my boss communicates this way and everybody else on my team communicates that way. So I have to change the way that I even write this email or write this proposal or communicate so that I match that style. So that it wouldn't impede my career. That's code switching. You're basically saying Black people do it all the time. That's why we know what it sounds like when we say put on your white people voice on the phone. So, so I bring that all back to say that when we start seeing things like this happening, it says a lot about those organizations that are making those choices, and it's going to be seen as bad form in the long term because you have a whole millennial force that has entered the workforce, and you have a whole gang of baby boomers that are now exiting, not because they want to or whatever. Them bitches 70 years old. They tired. So they leaving. So a lot of the institutional knowledge, a lot of the institutional like support for that kind of thinking of the status quo is exiting. You got a whole bunch of people that are entering the workforce that have a huge voice in profits and marketing, that understand social media. It can tear a company down in a heartbeat. So I think in the long term, these decisions to roll back the investments in DEI initiatives and reduce staff and all that body of work, they are going to suffer because the employees that work for the company see that they have large networks, and the people that are applying for jobs right now, the number one question that people that are in corporate that are asking as part of their interviews when someone says, hey, do you have any questions for us? Tell us about your culture. What's important to you and how are you demonstrating that through your actions? That's the number one thing. So I think I get that a lot of companies are folding to the political pressures of, their conservative constituents. I get that, and customers and clients. But at the end of the day, in the long term, it's just like when you think about anybody that was a Nazi sympathizer.
Right.
You don't care what their reasoning was. You just know that they sympathize. So I think that these companies, this is a bad PR move for them, because when the smoke clears and the light shines through and we see who you really are, there's a lot of brand new companies that are popping up and becoming really profitable in the spaces that these oligarch organizations are leaving behind.
Yeah. And the weird thing too is, like, obviously they do like these exit polls and things like that just to try to get a sense of what America's feeling, or a subset of America, because it's hard to really get what America's really feeling, because people really don't go really tell you in these polls. But it's odd, like even just for this one, they said there's a clear majority, that 57% that voted. This is based on like prior, like this is California. So California kind of got done with affirmative action maybe 25 years ago. And let's say it's a clear majority, 57% voted against allowing state and local entities to consider such factors in public education deployment and contracting decisions. But now they've been able to start doing research on that. And what they thought was going to happen did not happen. And the diversity has been lacking throughout California at the universities. And it sucks that they did, like, I think they even presented that case to the Supreme Court, saying, okay, here's a prime example. And California always leads the way for all this other shit in our country. And it didn't work. Mm-hmm. It's not what you think is going to happen. And it just sucks that, again, you have data to back up this. So it's not like misopinions. It's actual data showing what's going to occur. And that's scary across this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Cal State system, California is a unique place where people can get a certain number of signatures and you can have your proposition go on there and people can vote for it. One of the things and I'm a Californian, so I can speak about this from firsthand. One of the things that we as Californians hate is the fact that this big old booklet, it's like one of those old, it ends up looking like a Yellow Pages in regards to all the text,
do y'all know what the Yellow Pages is?
In regards to all these propositions. And they come up with names that are disingenuous. They have recaps and assessments of it that are disingenuous. So you think you're voting one way and it ends up being the other way. So there's this whole big mess in regards to it. But remember, California, even though it's a very liberal state, right? We're 50-50 in regards to a lot of things. So there's lots of things that have passed in California that you wouldn't have expected. Like, not allowing LGBT teachers to teach in the 70s during the Harvey Milk time, mm-hmm. right? The Anita Bryant stuff. California voted no for that. Defining marriages between a man and a woman. California voted, passed that constitutional amendment. So even though it's this very liberal place from a voter's situation, like there's a swing because we have a lot of rural spaces in the state of California. And so the UC system is the step up system in the colleges in California. I went to a Cal State, so Cal States are easier to get in, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's been the case for over 10 years, and they saw that the number of minorities enrolled that got accepted and ended up going to these colleges, 50% drop across the board. Data that's there when they got rid of affirmative action. So it's like, here's the data. It's showing that it's working. It's doing something. And if you don't have this one little teeny tiny tool helping out, this is what happens. Justices didn't care.
So hopefully they're able to find some loopholes. I'm sure that there's always loopholes in every situation, and hopefully it's to the benefit of our communities, even though we know a lot of times they stack it against us, and we still find a way to be great and amazing and incredible. So it's just another time that we just gotta show up and show out again. Mm-hmm. So when we get that,
really quick. My insight for folks that have kids that are Black and brown that are applying for these colleges: make sure that they do that. Make sure that they do that essay, and make sure that essay recaps what their lived experience is, especially any challenges that they've had to overcome as it relates to their race. Make sure that it's known from that perspective, because that was a carve out that was listed in the Supreme Court decision. But as Dawon indicated, that this is likely going to branch out into other areas in regards to corporate and DEI stuff and everything, which is unfortunate.
And so right when we got that news, we're like, damn, this week sucked. They said, hold up, though.
A 1-2 punch.
we got some more for y'all. So the next one was around
We
the
knew it was
LGBT.
coming. I knew it was coming. They were
God.
giving us. They was giving us them little crumbs
Them
earlier,
little hints.
right? They was giving us some little crumbs earlier. We knew this was coming. They always save the worst for last.
And so the article says the U.S. Supreme Court takes expansive view of business speech in LGBT wedding website case. And the case is pretty much this woman did not want to build a website for a same-sex couple. So she sued because like the state she lived in, I think it was Colorado,
She was in
had
Colorado.
a law that said you can't discriminate based on, race, sexuality, gender, blah, blah, blah.
It's really expensive.
Mm-hmm. And so she felt that she was being forced against her will and her First Amendment rights and all these rights. So she sued, and it went against her at the lower courts, right, if I'm not mistaken. But she appealed to keep it going to the higher courts. And so
this is another one of those fake cases. Because later on it came out the fact that because the case was never fully heard on the merits. So that was one of the things. The case was never fully heard on the merits. And so only until after the Supreme Court made the decision was, what did she actually build wedding websites for peace, or was she building other websites? Was there actually this gay couple or not? And the reporters tracked down who this alleged person was based on the information that was provided. He's like, no, I'm married to a woman and I have a kid and I build websites. Why would I hire somebody to build a website for me? None of it made sense. Make it make sense. And again, the Supreme Court's not supposed to be ruling on hypotheticals. They're supposed to be ruling on actual issues and controversies. So that's one of the challenges and one of the differences between this case and the Masterpiece Cake Shop, whatever case out of the one where the guy didn't want to make a cake for the gay couple, right? The other one was really more based in regards to religious freedom and religious speech, where this one was based on First Amendment. And First Amendment is a broader, more expansive type of protections there. And so what her argument is that by the government requiring her to provide this service to the same-sex couple, even though it went against her religious beliefs, that they were compelling speech. They were making her say something and speaking in a way that doesn't correspond and does not comport with her religious beliefs and tenets. And so even though it is religious-based, they went the way to the First Amendment, knowing that the First Amendment is a broader kind of way to be able to get a more expansive determination as it relates to it.
And it says the court did not offer a test to determine how to distinguish between plain old business services and expressive designs. So I just feel, again, this is just another broad interpretation that folks are going to be able to utilize to do whatever the fuck they feel like doing and discriminating against who the fuck they want to discriminate against. And that's so fucking scary because, again, it's always going to come back down to the Black and brown communities, the LGBTQIA plus communities, the trans communities specifically, because they really going after them right now. And so it's just like, what the fuck? We just need, this is what we need to do. We ain't making no podcast for no straight people. we ain't making no clothing for no straight people. Or them take them hey dudes, go
they got
elsewhere.
them, they got them hey dudes. Lord knows ain't one of us worked on them.
Because it's just so tiring. And I'm not the biggest tit for tat person, but it's like you just keep getting hit like this. And after a while, you're going to come back swinging. And then you really ain't going to like it. And so it's just like, again, what the fuck do we do?
So one of the challenges in regards to this one is that, the LGBTQIA plus community isn't formally classified as a protected class group from a legislative perspective. And if or when that happens, it will be a different day. Because Congress, through the people, would have spoken through their elected officials in Congress saying this is what we want. And so it will be a different day when the Equality Act passes and it's on the books in regards to the fact that you can't treat LGBTQIA plus folks different than you treat folks that aren't members of the community. And then it'll be interesting to figure out whether it ends up getting intermediate scrutiny or strict scrutiny, which, race and gender are different from that perspective. So it'll be interesting to find out where that falls. From a judicial from the judicial perspective. But I mean, we got to get folks in there that are going to pass the Equality Act. That's going to make a huge difference in regard to a lot of these laws, because again, the Supreme Court can rule in regards to the law that's on the books currently, but there's no federal protection for our community. I mean, there is currently in regards to the Bostock Supreme Court decision, which says you can't discriminate against folks in the workplace based on sexual orientation and gender identity. You had President Biden sign into law, codifying same-sex marriage and interracial marriage. And so, it would be much harder for the Supreme Court to chip away at those since legislation was passed in regards to it. And so since there isn't any, broad federal protection for our community, that's the next phase. It has to happen. And it's passed the House twice, hasn't gotten through Senate. So that's one of the reasons why we need to swipe some more seats in the Senate to be able to help make this happen.
Again, goes back to voting. If you ain't registered to vote, y'all, I know y'all get tired of us saying this shit. So go ahead and go register. Damn. And then show up and vote. And then bring your friends and your baby daddy and your sugar daddy and your
sugar daddy. Well, the sugar daddy probably Republican. So
that's why we need to find the older black gay oasis.
There we go.
Where the Tyler Perry's go?
Gen Z is identifying at 20% as members of the community. So, they're going to be the biggest voting bloc this next election. They can have the country that they want. They can have the protections that they want. They need to show up. And it's not, and it doesn't take all of them. It takes 2-3% more than they normally show up in any given election. Yeah. And that can make all the difference.
So the bar is low.
The bar is low.
Yeah.
Trump won by 80,000. Trump won by 80,000 votes in somewhere between 4 and 6 counties in the country. That's it.
But then it gets even crazier. So, Gen Z, this really hurts your pocketbook and your millennials. And
there's more.
There's more. Know what? Y'all gonna just be broke all your life because y'all gonna pay back every last cent of this interest and all of these student loans. So the Supreme Court blocked Biden's, I don't even know what to call it. Like, was it executive order or what was it that he even was able to kind of get through?
So it was put in through the COVID legislation in regard to that. So there's an ability for the Department of Education and the executive to everything came down to defining what the term waive or modify really came down to is really what it is, right? They have the ability to waive and or modify current statutory and or regulatory provisions applicable to financial assistance programs under the Education Act. And so the determination by the justices was that they went above and beyond what should be allowed as qualified modifying. Even though, for example, under PPP, we know that there's folks that got millions upon millions, even lots of congressional officials that got millions upon millions of dollars through the PPP that ended up getting forgiven. Right? So there's some people that get money that gets forgiven, and then there's other people that don't get money forgiven. And then the question is if it's the same emergency, right? COVID hit everybody, the same emergency. Some hit people that own businesses, some hit individuals, right? There were people that couldn't go to work because they worked in the hospitality industry and it's all shut down, right? How are they not affordable? How are they not afforded the same kind of help and assistance that was provided to some of the companies, especially some of the companies that are folks that are in the Congress at one. So that's really what it came down to is that.
You know what not corrects me, you know what irritates me is the amount of people, white people, that was saying shit like, I don't want to pay for your college tuition anyways. And then I'm like, bitch, you obviously didn't know that people have been getting their loans forgiven already for years, bitch.
Right.
Like, this ain't new. Yeah. And it was the people who shouldn't have been getting their loans forgiven. Like,
and what frustrates me too is just like, and I mean, I get it. We all do it in some aspect in our lives, daily lives. We justify what we want to justify, but it's just like, we know that college tuition is out of control. We know it. However, it's not stopping you from rooting for the Alabamas, the Auburns of the world, the Ohio States of the world, because it's really sports that's really driving up a lot of this cost of tuition because they're now paying the sports teams. They're getting the best physios. They're paying the coach and things like that. But you don't think that's part of the problem. You don't have any problem Saturday morning when you tailgate with your Busch Light and your Bud Lights and all that stuff. Yet when there's an opportunity to try to make things a little better, and honestly, if you forgive this, it's going to help the economy. The same economy that you've been bitching and moaning about for the last 3 years, that is just on this inflation and shit like that. It puts more money in people's pockets to be able to spend to get this shit under control. Now, they're going to have to start making these payments of probably money that they really weren't really saving this whole time that was getting forgiven. It's going to get so fucking ugly out there, and it's going to get way worse than it is right now, inflation-wise and everything right now with the economy. So it's just like you had an opportunity to actually do something right that, hey, even if you don't want to, like, if you don't care about, like, me personally, but you know what? I care about the economy. Okay, I'm going to put the economy above Carell, or I'm going to put the economy above whoever has to pay shit back. You just shot yourself in the foot, because this shit is going to ultimately affect you somehow. It really is. It always comes back.
I ain't gonna lie. I will
into a recession.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was going to say, I never thought I would get to a point in my life where I would kind of be happy I didn't go to college. For the longest time, I always felt less than. I was feeling like I didn't deserve to be in certain rooms because I didn't have that piece of paper, right? But like, no, like seeing how the world is today, bitch, I'm glad I don't got that extra bill, because bills are already going through the roof as is without a college degree, without having to pay back on loans. Yeah. I could only imagine just how harder it would be for me right now.
And there's something too, like, oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say there's lots of people that take jobs and everything that they don't care about, that they're not passionate about, only because they have to be able to pay these student loans back. Yeah. So think about what kind of advances and innovations aren't happening because people got to make sure that they pay that they're paying that student loan, which sometimes can cost as much as what their rent is, or as much as what their car payment is and stuff. People aren't, the younger generations aren't really expecting to be able to buy a house, right? How can you buy a house with the student loan payments the same amount?
And it ain't like we ain't got the money.
Correct.
Let us
find money for everything
else.
They
find money for everything else, and these kinds of measures are some of the least expensive investments that we would be making in our country, and it gets so blown up by the right side for the wrong reasons, and then a lot of our dumbasses be like, oh well, maybe they got a point about that, and now we're missing out on the opportunity to take advantage of something that could really give everybody a boost. Like, let's be clear, the Republican Party lobbied hard for people to go to college. Hard. Y'all lobbied down your throat. They made all of us, latchkey kids, back in the 80s or whatever, feel like the only way to get ahead was to get a degree. That's it.
They played the shit out of us. They played that card so well.
Right.
They knew exactly what was going to happen, that they were going to set up laws and protocols that we wouldn't be able to get out of debt, that we wouldn't be able to pay.
It's another form of bondage.
It really is.
They got rid of the ability to be able to include that in bankruptcy. They were messing around.
Yep.
Because we always say education the key. It is. Like, they can't get rid of your mind, but you get so stressed out and so bogged down to the day-to-day of the bills and this and that, and not being able to catch up, that you can't even utilize the skill sets and the knowledge that you have. Like, it's fucked up. It is so fucked up. It pisses me off. It does. Because oh God. Anyway,
all I can say is, just kind of like some of that old school mentality of like things like it take a village, and use a thing like street smarts to navigate through life. Like, that's a form of education that a lot of people don't get, and a lot of people don't know how to navigate. That's honestly how I got to where I am today. Just understanding, all right, well, guess what? Life itself is a fucking game. You got to know how to play it. You got to know all the pieces on the board and who can do what and what you trying to do.
Yeah. And I'm about to get this Henny spirit and that Keke Palmer spirit. Keke got on that loud. She said, at what point do we just like, we got to pull up to the Supreme Court? Like, we pulling up. And I'm like, that's a word. That's a whole ass word. Get Clarence and all of them.
Gotta go. Where they at? Where are they at?
Because this is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But
I mean, if they can January 6th, we can at least pull up and just be outside.
Period.
I want to know what the end game is. Like, what is the real end game? Because like these little things,
we know what the end game is. We know what the end game is.
I don't know what the end game is.
Not to advance us, to further divide and to give them as much power as they can. They know the world is changing. They know it is diversifying, and they know that they are about to be the minorities in here, and they are trying to put laws in place to keep power along for generations to come. That's what they do.
And
they know the end game.
Manipulate the minority groups to start thinking like them and start dividing within the minority groups. That's literally the next thing they really doing. We see it with Clarence. They got Clarence. Clarence got that power.
And Candace.
They can have Candace.
They built Candace
and Kanye. Right. But remember, here's the other thing too. I mean, it's they understand the class element and aspect of this country and how capitalism, that there's a have and the have-nots. And what they keep doing is being able to keep a way to be able to separate those that are the have-nots. There are more white have-nots in this country than there are everybody else. Yep. But they're like, at least I'm white. At least I have the ability to get ahead. And that's the pin. That's the pin on the donkey right there in regard to that. And so, keeping people uneducated and uninformed, a dumb population helps them. You remember Trump over there saying, "I love the uneducated." He wasn't lying about that, because they're not reading the newspapers and keeping up with, Reuters and keeping up with international news to see what's really going on in America besides what you're hearing from your main places. I mean, they know what they're doing. They've been in the long game for a long time. Taking the money out of public schools and going into private charter schools. So then there's less money going to the public schools. Who's going to be going to the public schools? Not their kids.
That part.
Not their kids.
Woo. So we understand that this seems a little heavy, because it is, to be point blank in the period. But we always find a way, especially the Black and brown communities. We find a way. We will find the hard humor in it and still turn up and become this incredible butterfly at the end of the day, despite all the shit they put on it. So it's time for us to revamp again. But this time we need to show up. And we had a DM come in, and this might be a future Ask Your Aunties, but it was just like, one of the questions was like, why does the Black community have on like almost like a blind bias to the Democratic Party? It's not a blind bias, but it's like right now we're choosing the lesser of the evils, and and that's what it is, because it's literally a two-party system in this country. That's it. If it was more parties, it probably would solve a lot of this, honestly.
Because we know they for sure ain't checking for us. They for sure ain't checking for us, right? At least over here, we may at least have 2% milk over here, but we ain't got nothing over there.
Evaporated.
Girl. Girl. Who remembers powdered milk?
I remember. Let me tell you.
Powdered milk.
Powdered milk. Sure did.
So it's just like, so it's not, I don't think it's a blind bias or a blind following ship to that, but it's just like, when you literally have, these are your options, one side got to be 51-49, and right now that's the side of it.
And I'm not gonna lie, but like, even though I don't 100% strictly identify as a Democrat, I'm definitely a liberal. Like, I would probably lean more towards the Green Party. Like, I'm socialist for all. Like, and so I lean a little bit that way. I feel like, at least between the two parties, what makes the Democratic Party so palpable is that even though they can't get shit done, because that's the biggest issue for me anyways, is they can't get shit done, they have good policies that benefit everybody, and that equalizes the process. So, like, I get the frustration with the Democratic Party in that they haven't done enough progress for us, but also we have not done a lot of progress for ourselves as well. So, it's hard to like just feign into this bashing of a political party that has done, for the most part, tried to do the right thing.
True. Exactly. And we don't show up enough. Point blank in the period, like, we don't show up. We're gonna smack our gums a lot, but when it really come down and putting that ballot, making sure we're registered and stuff, and I get, like, we're in positions too that is just so much harder to get to the polling places. I get that, but we can't be smacking our gums and not do something about it. And we have the opportunity year after year, time after time, to show up. And we don't. And we see what happens when we do show up in places that normally were more red, and seeing that shit turn more purple and blue. So, like, when I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, saw that shit, like, front center. Like, it was incredible to see the Black community, when they really put their mind to some shit, to see what they could do. We just got to continue and make it a habitual nature. It's not just a one and done. It's like, no, we got to do this the rest of our lives.
Yeah, and we don't have the luxury to be tired. Like that. Like, it's just, it's one of those things that we won't ever see the day of change if we stop.
Yeah.
We have to keep going, and we only relax once we've gotten what we deserved. Until then, we got two jobs. We got two jobs. We got to work our main job to keep the roof and everything that we have in our life, but we got to work behind the scenes as well too, by voting and showing up, and also too holding other people accountable. That's the other thing too that I really want to encourage, especially people in the community. You know, I have to apologize because I really, in the first couple of years of the podcast, I was really all about remove people out of your life that, you know, is bringing all this negativity and stuff like that. But also realize that, damn, now I'm one less person that's going to be able to check that hoe and remind that person that, you know, what you thinking is backwards. And I used to have that feel like I'm tired of doing it. But now there's just so many people who just won't, you know, be read to filth like they deserve because now they don't got me in their life. And I'm not going to go add them back on social media.
Right.
I now find myself being in rooms. I'm just going to carry that spirit.
She found herself in a conundrum.
She said, who better than me to check a bitch? Who better than me to check a bitch?
And then she turned around and heard the echo because wasn't nobody around.
All right, so I have three quick things to add. One that piggybacks off what Jarrell said, and it's not allowing people to be in that echo chamber. And I get it because you're like, it's not my job to educate you and all that kind of stuff. But if it's not us, then who, right? So, for example, I went to St. Thomas, a Catholic law school. The Federalist Society is the society that goes through and vets judges and provides the list to the president to provide, right? So there's a Federalist Society student group on virtually every campus. It's where your most conservative of the most conservative people go. Guess who joined the Federalist Society? Me. Because I didn't want them to be there talking in the echo chamber, you know, and all that kind of stuff. I was like, if you're going to talk that bull, I'm going to be there with you, and I'm going to argue the counterpoint. Yes. And so I'm not saying everybody can do that. I'm not saying everybody has to do that. But for me, that was something that I felt that I could do to try to be able to provide that counterpoint that not everybody always sees.
I love that.
In regards to the Dems, you know, one of the things that I think Jarrell, you kind of hit on this as well. It's that we don't have the luxury of waiting one election cycle to see what happens. Because look what happened, right? Trump got elected. He was only a one-term president. What happens? We lose affirmative action because of the three justices that he got on there. What did women lose? Their women's right to choose. You know, look at all this stuff because of one election, right? We as Black people know in this country how things can turn on a dime against us. And that's why we vote the way that we vote. Right. And this is the hard part when I have these conversations with like my younger siblings and friends that are that are younger, that haven't like been around the block and been voting for a while. Because I remember being young and wanting change today. I want to change yesterday. Right. But it's understanding the long game in regard to this and knowing that if you boycott a vote or you vote a third party in this election, right, and that ends up resulting in a Trump getting elected, how far is this setting us back?
Because of that decision.
Like this is the first time that there's less that the next generation is going to have less rights than we did. It makes no sense.
I know. I just like on that point. Like someone recently was like, just the Democrat and Republican name was like, "Well, I voted for Bernie anyway." You then that made me even more mad because you wasted that whole ass vote. You wasted that whole ass vote.
Especially depending on were they in Pennsylvania or in Michigan or in Wyoming? I'm not Wyoming. I'm sorry, Wisconsin. North, South Carolina. I mean, these are the places.
Like you gotta be strategic with these votes, yo. Like, and I heard this. I listened to NPR. I like NPR, and there was this interview the other day where someone's like, they were talking about speech writers, and the question was, have you ever written a speech for a president that you didn't agree with, like either like morally or whatever, Lee? And they're like, hey, you get hired. That's your job. Your job is to do your job. It's not to input your beliefs into whatever that writing is. But then
I'll be working at McDonald's.
Right. For everybody. But then there's something that hit me too. They're like, and there's something that they said they learned from a mentor saying, even if you only agree 80% of the way, you could maybe debate that additional 20% as long as they're able to get that 51%. But if you're over here agreeing 100% with someone that's not going to get 51% of the vote, you're wasting allow your skills and your talent and your time. And they're like, we agree that yes, it might not be your complete ministry, but it's easier to debate about that 20% for someone that is going to actually get the votes that they need to get versus someone that's not going to even get close to the votes that you need to get. And you agree 100%. He said, you're going to be on a soapbox at your home by yourself. I was like, damn, that's kind of a word. And it
really
literally
is.
kind of changed my thought process on some things because I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to agree 100% with anyone. But if I agree maybe 3/4 of the way, 60% of the way, and I know they're going to be able to do things a little better than someone over here, that's a chance I'm going to have to take because they're going to at least be able to get the votes to get in and start changing the slowly but surely and think of that long game plan. So, and you had a third one there.
Yeah. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh,
I didn't think I forgot that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Look at Gerard, like I don't know.
good luck.
It's like, where's it at?
This is real good. This is real good. So I forget that I should have looked it up. I think so. There were 2 congressional maps where the United States Supreme Court said, nope, sorry, y'all messed this up.
Yep.
And this means that
I think it was Alabama and Louisiana.
Alabama, I think it was Alabama, Louisiana. So there's at least 5 to 6 new seats that like maps that are going to be drawn where we can get where it's going to be minority majority. At least
Yep.
for this next election. And so that could help change the tide in regards to things. Well, at least from the House perspective, again, we still have a challenge with the Senate. We still have a challenge with the filibuster. You know, but I mean, that's light at the end of the tunnel from that perspective, as well as the fact that they rejected that crazy, theory that the legislature, independent legislature theory, where they were the argument was that the right to be able to govern how elections run is solely held by the states, and that there's no court that can check them on it. That was a BS, crazy, really crazy argument that went all the way to the Supreme Court, and people were very fearful that they were going to say, yeah, that makes perfect sense, but it didn't. Thank God. And so there is a ripcord.
I can only imagine.
There's a ripcord for us in regards to this. These maps should be done for this next election, and so that could make a difference, especially as we're saying, folks show up and show out.
Yeah. Ooh, well, I know, community, we had to do a longer episode for this part of it. It's just important to have the conversation, to have it from a lawyer that knows his perspective and can talk and make sure we're not spreading misinformation like Dawon said.
Which we don't.
We'll still spread our opinions, though, Hope, but making sure we can talk at least as intelligently as we could about it. Couple of maybe brighter spots here, and before we even get to a super bright spot with Dawon, Simone Biles is back. Did you hear that?
Girl, I know. I am so excited for my sister, but I am also very, very nervous. Let me tell you. I first of all, I ain't no Olympic gymnast, okay? But as someone who competed in diving at a very high level, I was just diving this past weekend, and my own fear of twisting was just like there, right? And I was like, oh my God, like I just couldn't. I couldn't do a lot of the stuff that I used to. And I just sat there, like as I was drying off, I was like, damn, bitch, I could only imagine what she was really going through. Like just that level of mental block. And she'd been out for 2 years too, like not really doing much.
Yeah.
But let me say this,
married and living that good life.
Bitch, but when you are the baddest bitch in the game though, beating bitches by 5 points, which is a lot in gymnastics.
Yes. She gonna be all right.
Bitch, not when you can fall at least one on every single apparatus and still win.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting because a lot of times when gymnasts stop tumbling a lot, their body kind of like grows more and things like that. So it's gonna be interesting just to see how her body has even changed in the last 2 years, because like it starts to fill out a little more, and so that changes the way you're used to twisting and jumping and all that stuff. But if anyone can, it's gonna be Simone. So like I'm excited.
Just imagine that power. She's gonna have even more power. It's going to be sickening. I just hope she's doing it for her, and I hope that it's more. I hope it's more enjoyable this go around. With everything that was happening with like Larry Nassar, the former Olympic, doctor or health coach, whatever, and everything that happened with that.
Pedophile.
Yep, exactly. And then also the platform that she was put on. Like, I could just imagine the stress. I just hope that now she's just like, I just really hope that she just sits into being, that bitch.
And that is fun for her again. That she likes to do it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's what was taken away from her for a while there.
Yeah.
And that's what
I just want to say this too. I just have to say this too. Y'all, this is the first time that we could potentially have an all Black women's U.S. gymnastics team. When I tell you the sisters, when I tell you the sisters are out here, it is a legit chance that all 6 individuals, because I think it was 4, I think it was 5, I think it was 4 last in Tokyo, it goes back to 5 this year. All 5 of them can be Black.
Or it could even be women of color, because Suni Lee's back.
Suni Lee is back too. Let me tell you,
right here in Minnesota.
But Connor and Jordan Childs and I forget the other one. But they out here. When I tell you the sisters are out here, honey.
We'll be able to see that in the next week. I know by the time this episode comes out, we'll see the national track and field that begins tomorrow.
I'm actually going this. I'm going this Friday. Yes, I'll be in Eugene. So when this comes out, y'all, I will be in Eugene watching the national track and field. You got to take some pictures to put up on the Minority Report. Oh, bitch. And I'm sitting right at the finish line, too. So I get to see all the dangle as they run into the finish line. Like this.
Dangle. Yeah. Like, what's the Philadelphia Eagle guy?
Alan. Yes, I know you're talking about. Last name is that.
His shit be.
Let me tell you, his little fine little self.
Jesus on the main line. And Fred Curley, him, too. That's just a big man. He ain't pretty. He kind of look like Biggie, like a fit Biggie.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. But he got a body.
Devin Allen, that's his name.
Yes, Devin
Allen. Yep.
Them things be and he be doing the hurdles, and so they be showing it in slow motion. That shit be like, woo, 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 woo.
Bitch, that be jumping over the hurdle too, bitch. Leg goes over, then it follows through.
the third leg follow through.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh Lord, and then Wimbledon's going right now, so it's a good, nice little sports moment.
I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of sad for Venus too. Like, first of all, to fucking play, who did she play?
Svitolina.
Yeah. I mean,
Ukraine.
Yeah, that
was a tough first rounder.
That was a very tough first round, but I actually really enjoyed watching them both play. Coco Gauff, girl, get it together, man.
She's struggling right now.
Girl, I don't know what's going on. But I need you to
Luckily,
get it together.
She's only 19, so she has time to figure it out. But I feel like she's going through that first kind of like valley of just like, shit, I should be doing better. And I don't know why I'm not doing better. I'm freaking out. And my forehand's erratic right now.
I wanted to loosen up. That's what I wanted to see. Yeah. Right now, she is such a technical player. Like, her form. Every time I see her, I know exactly where she's going. She's just so readable. She needs to just loosen up and play a little bit more fearlessly, and then she'll be just fine.
I agree.
Come on, sports world.
But so that was a lot of the moment for the day. But the real, and here's a juxtaposition of Minority Report. The real bright spot is we have some fun coming up, and we'll let Dawon break this shit down with the Barbie Chronicles.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, I had not so recently, fell into this hobby of
that's what we're calling it
right now.
Look, I'm getting close. Okay,
it's getting very close. So I for a long time I've had this 1997 what would now be considered vintage black Barbie holiday doll, and I've been having her out. I bring her out for Christmas and put her on the tree, by the tree, or just for decoration, blah blah blah. This year around April, she's still sitting out here. I ain't got a tree. So I'm like, what am I going to do with her? Long story short, I decided that I'm going to give her a whole dolly makeover. So I then sent her body and her face off to the Philippines. She's getting a whole facelift. And then when she comes back, I have a new articulated body that has been skin color matched so I can replace her rigid Barbie body with this articulated body. So when she comes back from the Philippines, now it's been 6 weeks now, so it's taken a while. But when she comes back, I would like the community's help in giving her a name. So when she comes back, we're going to post a picture and then ask the community to surface up some names that you think that Auntie Shar is going to agree with for this doll. Because I reserve the right of first refusal for anything that is presented from my girl that's going to be living in my house and taking these coins to buy her Gucci clothes.
That part of it.
And when I say Gucci, I say Gucci. So
she said what she said.
Yeah, so I want to have some fun, and I trust you all. So I want to give you all the opportunity to help weigh in with some names that you think. Her original Barbie name is Christy. Not stuck with that. So
that has to go. She's gonna be too black now.
Exactly. Yes, very black, very very Afro, like just Nubian-esque when she comes back. Yes. So I'm very excited, and I want to get y'all's opinions. And so we're gonna share some more details a little bit later, and then we'll whittle the masses down to a final selection, post it out there, and let everybody have the opportunity to vote. And whichever one gets the vote is going to be her name. And I will be creating an Insta and a whole social experience around this doll that will feature that name. So, and of course, she will be your niece because she's the auntie. So she may make an appearance once or twice on the show. She won't say nothing, but
she's just gonna sit there looking fabulous.
Are you not gonna be a ventriloquist?
No, ma'am. She speak with them eyes, honey. Them looks.
Period. So, community, we really want you to get involved with this because we've had people asking what's the update on the Barbie doll. So come and play along with us. We'd love to have you guys chime in with your the names for the new Christy, the new facelift, and all that.
You know what I'm excited for? The fact being that this is going to be part of the Dawon experience whenever you go and visit her. Right? 1,000. Like, you know how the wig experience is part of being with Dawon, right?
Yes.
Meeting the Barbie, playing with the Barbie is going to be part of the Dawon experience.
Playing with? Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, her showing the doll is going to be part of the Dawon experience, right?
She might even get a special outfit just for that one evening, just for the company. So,
of course she will.
I'm here for it. I'm not mad at that at all.
Evening gown.
All right, so Dawon, I have to make sure that you meet one of my dear friends. I've known him since before I came out. His Instagram is Warrencito.
Okay.
And he actually does all the stop action videos with Barbies, and he recolors them and all that kind of stuff. He actually got hired by Mattel to do something special for like the Barbie fancy anniversary that just happened last year. So Warrencito, folks, check him out. He actually redoes like famous like videos, like he redid Vogue and all that kind of stuff with Madonna and everything.
That's dope.
Is Barbie about to have a music video? Is your Barbie about to have a music video, Dawon?
Give me one margarita.
She's too high class for all that. Is that when she goes to Freak Day?
Right. Give me one Margaritaville. Because she gets the whole thing.
I'm so here for it. That is too funny. Well, community, hopefully your summer's going nicely out there. Hopefully you're being safe. Z, we appreciate you as always, man. Like we reached out and he's like, yeah, I'll hop on. So he's like, let's do it. So he's always welcome. He knows that whenever he feels like it. And the official legal correspondent, I feel like a Minority Report.
For real, though. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I feel like we're official now. It's like I like that. But anything else on your hearts and minds?
I'm sorry?
Anything else on your hearts and minds? No.
I don't have anything over here. Just
all right.
Again, I love being black.
The period.
The only other
and go get you some merch.
I was just gonna say the only thing I would say is like it's summertime. Y'all got to get out there. We got Auntie Corell up here, sporting one of our new T-shirts, and there's a lot of other really great.
The Yo Auntie.
Yeah, so go on out there and treat yourself.
Oh, and follow us on Threads. The new social Twitter, as if you were the Instagram Twitter by Meta. We'll see how long that lasts. Everybody's already hopping on.
Everybody, bro. Like literally, my feed has been threads.
Right. Threads. Like they said, deuces to Twitter. Fuck that whole.
Twitter said you can only look at 3 posts per day.
Twitter tripping.
Yeah, they put a limit on how many posts a person can see.
I was like in the middle. I was getting closer. You made me reach my limit. It's like, ain't this some shit? And that's the thing is, it's because Meta be extra like stingy about the censorship. This thread's gonna be like super duper censored.
I think
that's gonna be.
I bet they
will kick. They're gonna kick the wheels and find out.
Mm-hmm. Right. People gonna be trying.
They're gonna be pushing against
that's
the walls.
only thing.
If they want to compete with Twitter, they're going to have to be a lot more lenient. Because let me tell you, this whole Instagram jail shit, easily reports shit,
ain't gonna fly.
Girl, it's not going to fly. So if Threads is going to be something, it has to be very lenient.
Look what happened to Tumblr.
Yeah. Non-existent.
So
seriously,
who is she? I don't know.
Tumblr, what is that? That's how we show our age. Tumblr.
Is Clubhouse still happening?
I haven't been on Clubhouse in like 2 years. It was dope, like at the beginning of COVID.
Oh yeah, when everybody's home not doing anything.
Yeah. So Clubhouse gone.
Gone.
Everybody in the actual club now.
That part. That part. Well, community, stay safe. Wash your hands, wash your legs, wash your ass. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.